Hello, my lovely dreamers, and welcome back to yet another Lucid Dreaming Challenge. This is Lucid Dreaming Challenge number 10. Now, last time we touched on dream incubation and how to start influencing our non-lucid dreams, and we're actually going to dive a little bit deeper into that challenge with today's challenge, which is incubating a non-lucid dream or lucid dream with your shadow. When we talk about dream incubation, we're mostly just talking about influencing our dream content in general. Even if it's not a lucid dream, it still counts as dream incubation. And so when we are incubating a dream with our shadow, it is important to keep in mind what energy we're actually calling forward so we can connect with our shadow before our shadow actually shows up in our dreams. So the shadow is the parts of yourself that you have denied, suppressed, or disowned in some way or another. And this could generate emotions. Within the shadow, we feel emotions of shame, guilt, anger, fear, regret. And these emotions that we've experienced in our life are actually stored in our psyche and in our body, and they can't be released unless they have been acknowledged, witnessed, and actually processed. When we don't process emotions, they're stored in the body and in the mind, and they actually play out unconsciously in our lives, and that energy also shows up in our dreams too. So to connect with your shadow means to witness and hold space for the energy, the unintegrated energy that is within your shadow, and being able to transmute that through awareness and kind of welcoming that energy into your awareness. Usually shadow content is created because we are pushing something away. It's uncomfortable, right? We don't want to talk about that a situation. We don't want to talk about the traits or maybe the things that we hide from others. We don't want to look at our shame, right? And that is why we have the content that's within our shadow, is because it's information about us and our experiences that has not yet been illuminated. That's all it is. So the shadow is nothing, negative or bad. Yes, there are some heavier emotions in that but that's because that was already there. And in order to kind of process those emotions and actually experience the potential of the shadow, which is all of the beautiful, wonderful things we want to experience that we haven't stepped into yet, in order to be able to welcome those aspects of us that are not yet illuminated, we need to also hold space and illuminate the parts of our shadow that are maybe more difficult to look at. So if you have never done shadow work before, you definitely want to connect to the energy of your shadow before trying to call it into your dreams, just so you know what you are looking for, and so you know how to make that connection a little bit better when it comes to connecting with your shadow. So if you've never done shadow work before, a couple great journal prompts or questions to ask yourself to kind of identify what's in your shadow are the following. What am I most afraid of? What lies about myself do I tell others? What am I most ashamed of? And what personal habits cause me pain? Are just a few questions or journal prompts that you can use to kind of dive into what's in your shadow. And if you notice that you have an emotional tie or an emotional pull to something in particular, that's most likely a shadow aspect, because again, our emotions are stored in the body and the mind, and this is why we can relive situations over and over and over and actually still feel it in our body and emotionally like it just happened. It's because that information has not yet been fully processed and integrated, and so it's still stored inside our body. So those are some questions that you can use to kind of, to ask yourself, to kind of start to figure out what is in your shadow. What are the emotions that are kind of trapped in your shadow that you've had in the past that maybe have not been processed? What parts of yourself can you look at and show more love to and more awareness to that will be beneficial to how you show up in your own life in the future? So once you have asked yourself those questions, you've kind of identified and been honest with yourself about, some things that may be within your shadow. And again, if you want more information on this, I actually just did 2 videos on shadow work on my channel, so definitely make sure to check that out. But once you have kind of identified some aspects of your shadow, you want to call in your shadow before you go to sleep. And this will allow you to kind of create the connection energetically to your shadow, but also invite it in, because again, the shadow is there because it is all the parts of ourselves that are not yet illuminated, that we have not been willing to face. So now, in order to integrate the shadow, the important thing is to look at those emotions, to not judge those emotions or the aspects within your shadow, to hold space, to welcome it in, to be curious and open, right? We want to do the opposite when it comes to healing the shadow, because avoidance and denial kind of is the reason why these emotions and these situations are not processed. So this is all about just being open and curious and welcoming these parts of yourself so you can get to know yourself better within this journey. So after you've asked yourself those questions, you want to just call in your shadow before bed, so you can simply just connect the energy of your shadow as you are falling asleep and simply say in your head, "Shadow, come to me," or "I'm ready to meet my shadow. I would like to meet my shadow." And that's the simplest form of dream incubation, is just making the intention and connecting emotionally with what you want to experience in your sleep. You can also write a letter to your shadow if you so feel called to. But once you start to pay attention to your shadow, it will be easy to find what's in your shadow. You've kind of opened the doors to being able to see yourself on a much deeper level. So just by asking yourself those journal prompts, you will probably start having more content show up in your dreams that is related to your shadow, which is amazing, because this is a sign of a healing mind, that you are ready to kind of transmute and release this energy and kind of use this energy in different ways in your life, maybe more helpful or beneficial ways in your life. So that is your challenge, to kind of dive into your shadow, get familiar with a couple of your shadow aspects, and then to call your shadow into your dreams and observe your dreams. How did they change from when you called in your shadow? Did you have a dream of something that made you feel uncomfortable? Did you have a nightmare? Did you have a dream about, an embarrassing trait or an insecurity that you have, or one of your biggest fears? All of these are ways that the shadow is connecting with you, and it's just to show you what has not yet been processed or integrated, so you can begin to show up more fully in your life and heal the parts of yourselves that maybe haven't been healed up until this point. So this is your challenge. Definitely let me know if you have any questions, what your experience is with this, and I would love to hear about it. As always, make sure to subscribe if you like the content I create and you don't want to miss out on any future upcoming content. We have a lot coming out on this channel. So thank you guys so much for joining in another video. I love you so much, and as always, I'm sending you endless love and endless lucidity.